Welcome to the Sheff United Way. My name's Hal. Another, I want to say celebrity fan guest, so I'm just going to say it. Travelling Blade is with me. Ben, to give you your real name. How's it going?
It's going well, thank you very much. How's life in Cyprus treating you?
Do you know what? It's for not for 1 second, as I've been basking in the sun, t-shirt weather in December and January, have I regretted this decision. But more importantly, how's life back in God's own county?
It's good. It's good. Been managing to get to plenty of games of late. Shout out to Steve Cryan, the hero that is, for managing to get me a ticket for Wrexham away somehow. Nice. So very, very lucky once again. But, fame pays. But no, yeah, it's not too bad. But yeah, typical softy southerner, you've swanned off to the sun. So
yeah, I'd like to just reiterate and make this very, very clear. I am not a southerner. In fact, I'm pretty sure I was born further north than you, but that's by the by.
Yeah, it's all about the character, not the location.
I don't even know how to respond to that. What I do know is that you have been a Blade for a long time, but I want to know how you actually became a Sheffield United fan.
Well, sort of. I was quite late to the party where I didn't really get into football properly until I was about 2008, really. Wow. Like before that, my supporting football was sort of like the same way I am with like rugby now. I watch like the odd England game, but I knew I was a Sheffield United fan, but I didn't really follow scores or go to games. And then sort of when I got into football, like I said, I wasn't even that interested in football in general. I used to watch the odd England game. Obviously, everyone knew who David Beckham was and stuff like that. But I wasn't an avid football fan at all. And then when I started getting into it more, I think started getting into it more because of like match attacks and things. Some lads at school were collecting them. I got interested through that. And like I said, I always knew I was a Sheff United fan. I'd always answer with the same sort of innate reaction as when someone asks you your name. When you're that age, you just go, oh, I don't know why, but still don't know why I'm a Sheff United fan. But
was it not a family reason?
Yeah, it sort of came down from the family. So I think sort of stems from, because everyone always says to me like, oh, you're from Doncaster, but you support Sheff United, which I find interesting because if you say you support Liverpool or Man United or any of them big six teams, you can be from anywhere in the country, if not the world, and you say, oh, you could be from like Mozambique, and they say, oh, I support Liverpool, and then no one asks why. Whereas like you're from like half an hour away in Doncaster, why do you support Sheff United? It's like what? It's like, yeah, I think sort of my grandpa was an evacuee, came up to sort of between Barnes and Sheffield area, and his adopted uncle. I used to take him to home games at Bramall Lane, which must have been the 50s or something like that when he was about a teenager. And he met my grandma, and her dad was an avid Sheff United fan. He used to go to all the home games. Then those two had my dad and my uncle. My uncle was always more of a bigger football fan than my dad, really. He used to go to like away games to like Norwich in the Cup back in like the 80s and stuff like that. And I remember him telling me about being on a coach hungover. So he was like a home and away Blade for a while. I remember him telling me about being at was it Darlington, I think, in the fourth division or something like 80s, that. I think he was at that game. And sort of, I think as his sort of career progressed and he got married, he didn't go as much. And my dad was always sort of a fan, but never as big as my uncle. And then, yeah, so I sort of grew up, sort of just inherited it, in the same way you inherit your surname. And then when I started getting into football, I was like, oh, let's go and actually start watching the game. And didn't start going until we actually dropped into League One. It was really to get a ticket. So I've always prided myself on being sort of like an inverted glory fan. Like I only started going once we got relegated.
I love that. I like to think of myself in a similar way that, I used to go a lot. Well, I used to do home and away. I mean, all the games back in when no one was really interested, when we'd got relegated after, you might not remember it, but we were relegated against Chelsea, like last minute, Mark Steen. Yeah. And then the following season is kind of like, from then on, I was like, right, I'm doing every game. And that was my time that I still look back on with tremendous fondness. Bassett, Kendall, Spackman, Warnock onwards. Yeah. But brilliant to hear that. What was your first game?
My first ever game was a friendly in 2010 against Estudiantes, or Estudiantes, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's back when we had Blackwell. And then I didn't go again until I think that was the pre-season of when we got relegated to League One, and then my first proper game, I guess, was who was it against now? It was the first home game of the 11-12 season. I'm pretty sure it was Brentford, and we won 2-0. I think Jordan Slew scored. I can't remember who else scored, but yeah, the 2-0 home win against Brentford. It's funny how you should mention you were on the podcast with Roy about how you remember games better then than you do like a week ago. Like,
do you agree?
Like someone that's like so much. Like I recall like life events. Like I remember seeing Prince Abdullah say this, and I think in the fans forum saying he remembers things about what sporting event happened. But I remember like sort of my third cousin twice removed christening, just because the day before I was at Southend away when we won 4-2 under Wilder. I would have no idea about
I'm
that
with you on that.
Yeah, like so. Yeah, I remember. He said, "Ben, how do you remember the date of that? You really like invested in your family?" I was like, "Nah, I couldn't really care about the christening, but I just remember the day before I was at Southend away."
Yeah, and that's exactly the same with people like ask about the first time I spoke to my wife. I remember exactly because it was when we played Liverpool and lost 4-0 at Anfield. Tell me about becoming Travelling Blade, and I mean the whole thing, the idea. And for those perhaps not familiar with it, just explain it all, please.
Yeah, so it started back in 2018. A few inspirations. I think the OGs of the content world. I think Shaw and View might have been the first of the parties between Shaw and View and Blades Pod. I think Shaw and View started back in doing the odd video back in around 2014, I believe, maybe a little bit earlier. A few like compilation. Remember seeing the montage videos Johnny made for the FA Cup run, brilliant FA Cup run, and absolutely loved those videos. Obviously, he started doing the vlogs as well. I used to absolutely love because I thought you'd always see content about, obviously, Arsenal Fan TV, like absolutely own the show. You'd always see stuff about them and other teams, and I thought, oh, it's great to have like some Sheff United stuff and really good quality stuff as well.
Yeah,
especially for games like Spurs away in the League Cup, that games that you couldn't get to for whatever reason, and so I'd always liked them, but I also. I think one of the reasons I wanted to do it is because although like Sean View had got some great footage, obviously not done every game and they'd only started at a certain point, and there was loads of goals that I wanted like fan footage of, like just seeing like specifically I always wanted more fan footage of that FA Cup semi-final, thinking like, oh, I'd kill for like some handheld footage of Scougal's goal. It was before Duffy at Hillsborough. It was like the greatest moment of my life, my favourite Sheff United moment until Duffy came along at S6, but I was like, oh, I just want more handheld footage of goals. And there's a few, but I can't really find it. And I thought, oh, Johnny's got some, but he's got a really good knack of keeping still. And I was like, no, I don't want that. I want like a tsunami kicking off. Like, I want to see the ball hit the net and then just chaos. So I thought, well, do it. I'll have to just do it myself then. And I thought, to be fair, it's not going to be too expensive to start. I'd already got my phone. I thought, I'm already going to the games. And I sort of wanted to get into YouTube. I dabbled with a few silly FIFA videos in the past. I was big into like the Sidemen at the time. I think it was proper weird. Like I won like a £5 voucher, Amazon voucher at uni, and decided, I'll get the Sidemen book with it. Absolute 14-year-old. And I read it the day before we had Leicester away in the FA Cup, which I was going to. And I just read it and I thought, you know what? Yeah, there is a cheap. It can be cheap to get into YouTube. You can start out in a very cheap. If you've already got a phone, you're pretty much sorted. And I thought, you know what? Yeah. So a mixture of Showroom View and the Sidemen book inspired me to start, and just thought. And I think with the hat as well, I didn't intend for that to be a thing. In the end, that became, as it is now, a bit of a costume. But at the start, I'd started wearing a flat cap for about a month, and I think it was like a February or March game, and it was fairly cold. So I thought, oh, just put my hat on for the same reason I'd put my coat and shoes on. Just thought, and then people started commenting, going, oh, and then next game I think was Hull away when they were throwing all the tennis balls on the pitch, and another cold game. So I thought, it's a bit of a thing. I thought it makes me a bit more recognisable, and I didn't know if it was going to take off. I thought, I'll make a few. I quite enjoy making them, and remember the first one did really well. I got like 1,000 views, and I was like, yo, this must be what it feels like to be KSI or something like that. And
you got your own drink coming soon.
Yeah, Prime. But
you might have to call it something else.
They are rubbish, by the way. I wouldn't recommend. I've tried about 4 different ones. Rubbish, honestly.
If someone gives me one, I will try a sip. I'm not buying one.
By the way, I paid £3 per bottle. I wasn't playing something stupid. My local shop had something for about £3. But
I'm not judging you, but this is now already too much of an advert for Prime.
Yeah, to be fair, yes, I started out 1,000 views, and then I was like, "Yo, this is mad." And then I saw people commenting on Facebook, and then I thought maybe it's just they watched that one, and then the next few did okay as well, and I thought it was starting to pick up. And I remember early on, it's really hard to gain subscribers. Like
you're on a roll.
It's like a snowball. It starts slow and then builds and builds. And I remember the first time I sort of felt famous was I can't remember when I started watching 𝗶𝗏𝗀𝗏. I don't really remember. Like, I just remember my first memory of watching him. I already knew I'd watched some of his stuff before, but I don't know what I'd watched. Like, like it's like I knew I'd watched episode 1 and 2, but my first memory is watching episode 3. Of, you know what I mean? So he was doing some FIFA stream, and I don't know if I just commented something. Maybe I was like a couple of months. I think I started in late Feb, and maybe this was June, July time after I'd started vlogging. So 3 or 4 months in. And I just commented on his live stream, and he was like, "Oh, Traveling Blades, like, oh, I'm starstruck. I've got you on the stream." I didn't even think I just thought he'd be looking at my name was like some other punter, as you'll get commenting on your streams now. And I was like, as if he's seen that and recognised it. So yeah, 𝗶𝗏𝗀𝗏 picking me out, like thinking, this is mad. And I think I already sort of knew Johnny a bit from, I think I'd messaged him over Showroom View and that, and I think I'd met him a couple of times, so I already sort of knew him. But it started to really grow, and then I think the next season, obviously the first half season was actually a pretty poor time for United. I think it's when I started vlogging as we started to peter out and dropped from like 3rd to 10th and became a bit of a nothing season. But then obviously season after was the 18-19 promotion season. So I'd like to thank Wild and the lads for giving us, helping, obviously a brilliant season, but for helping the channel, because it was really exciting. And obviously we had some big games against, I had the Leeds vlog. My most viewed one was actually the painstaking 3-3 at Villa away, which was, I became a bit of a meme, but I found it really funny, to be fair, because it was just a video of cutting from me when we're 3-0 up singing, "We're top of the league, we're Sheff United." And it just cuts to me in my head, in my hands going, "We've thrown it away, 3-3.
Yeah, because of course I've been watching your stuff for a long, long time. And there must be highs, there must be lows, but also I've spotted that you're not doing it. I mean, why have you stopped?
Yeah, I sort of fell out of love with it, really. I think a couple of reasons. I think, obviously, as you'll have had yourself, you get the odd thing online, people. I think vloggers in general. I imagine you might get some. I think you've done one vlog, and I'll be interested in what you think. Like, you might get some stick anyway, just being a general YouTuber. But I think there's hate for vloggers in general, because it's a match day disturbance to some people. I think there's hate towards that. So you sort of get that, and you sometimes think, I can't really be bothered to put up with it anymore. But it was like sort of torn, because for every every one absolute, pube, shall we say, online, you'll get 10 people. Sometimes they message you online. A lot of the time they're in person as well, going, "Oh, I love your stuff." And it's like, oh yeah, but then also I felt a bit awkward at games, less so away games, because everyone's just sort of in party mode and not always, but away games everyone's more relaxed. I've had a few more shandies. You don't really sit next to that person ever again. But at a home game, you've got the sort of same people all around you, and you sort of notice it's like, I don't really want to get them in the footage to impose on them, and it's just, I just felt really sort of awkward, especially at home. And you think, I could just film the match and not myself, but then I'm thinking, I don't really want to be that style of my vlog. I always want to sort of add a bit of myself in, sort of, add a bit of my own personality to it.
As you get more and more inebriated.
Yeah, or more irate at the referee. Yeah. But I think also I've thought, I might just start to feel a bit of an upheaval, really. And I thought, I'm just going to try a few games, and without it sort of feels like, if you've ever gone from a phase of always wearing a watch, and then for some reason you stop wearing a watch, and the first week or so you're like, you almost feel naked without your watch. It's like, but then after the first month and a half, you've got used to wearing your watch, and putting the watch back on would feel weird. It's sort of like that me now with vlogging. The first few was like, oh, I'm not vlogging. It felt weird. But now I'm just sort of enjoying the match day experience without having to think, oh, I've got to film myself, feeling a bit anxious about filming myself, filming the game. And also after the game, thinking, as you'll appreciate, oh, I've got to edit it now and I've got to get it up. And then you sort of like thinking, oh, how are my views doing? How are my subscribers doing? You know what I mean? And all that. And it's like, so I've sort of got out of the swing of it. I don't know if I'll come back. I'm half tempted to, but maybe just doing away games.
Why don't you just do games that take particular interest to you? Games that will be Sheffield Wednesday away, Villa away, games that Leeds away that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
You could save it for the big ones. Those will get the views regardless. But yeah, I can relate to all of that.
I think I might do more away games, because I always notice with my away game vlogs, I'd get so much more better content, because the home game was just sort of like, all right, I'm in the car, right, yeah, here's the game. Because like beforehand, like, yeah, I go to the pub beforehand, but you just sort of sat with the same people, just talking about everything and nothing. Whereas like the away game, you've got the away day, sorry. You've got obviously the minibus there. Then you've got like the pubs there when you stop off beforehand in like some provincial town, 10 minutes away from the actual ground. And then when you get to the concourse, you've got people going, oh yeah, get us on, because everyone's had a few shandies and that. And it's more interesting. You get different ground. Then you've got the minibus back, which is always the best part of the vlog. I mean, the stuff I've had to cut out for reasons, honestly, that's I
can imagine.
Yeah. That would put 𝗵𝗍𝗶𝗶 view to shame with some of the stuff I've had to cut out, a bit of quite adult content at times that I've had to remove.
What about the best away day experience for you personally? What would it be?
I saw my two best away days joint first. Would be actually happened in a matter of weeks between each other. Bournemouth away in the Prem, and also Chelsea away in the Premier League.
Wait a minute. Your two best, we didn't win either of them.
We did win them, but they were draws. We won. we beat Bournemouth 1-1.
Yeah.
Well, we beat Bournemouth 1-1, and we beat Chelsea 2-2.
We definitely beat Chelsea 2-2. You're absolutely right, because that was the comeback of the century.
Oh, I know. I swore on 5 Live the following day. I was at Blackpool Pleasure Beach with my mates, and they said, "Oh, do you want to come on 5 Live?" And they said, "Oh, yeah." And so I'm there, and waiting for my mates to come off a ride. I said, "Oh, what do you think at half time?" And I said, "Well, I thought, what a stupid question."
Yeah, of course.
So I've heard that Tyson Fury swore live on 5 Live. So yeah, I'm in the same category of him now. In terms of swearing on 5 Live. So
yeah, I mean that's company.
But yeah, I thought, well, you asked me what we're thinking at half time, 2-0 down. But I think with Bournemouth, it was a very kind gentleman called Martin Cropper, who messaged me a few days before saying, got 2 hospitality tickets for Bournemouth. My son can't make it. Do you want to come? And I was like, yes. Obviously, it's like, I knew I was never going to get a chance of a ticket because small allocation, high demand, so on. And I said, the thing is, though, seats are in Bournemouth end. I was like, right, I'll take it. I said, well, what happens if we get a late equaliser or late winner? We'll have to be a bit quiet. I said, well, there's no way on God's green earth am I sitting down for a late equaliser or late winner. And I think he contacted them, and they were so sound, Bournemouth, because I think there was a Sheff United fan that he also got a home ticket, and he spoke to a steward, and the steward said, "Oh yeah, there's a bit of room in the away end." They didn't want to cram it, but they could see a seat, and they said, "Yeah, there's a seat you can have." And I think similar with us, he contacted the Bournemouth ticket office and said, "Got these hospitality tickets, but we're Sheff United fans. Any chance?" And they went, "Oh yeah, we'll swap your tickets for away end tickets." I was like, "This is the dream." So I got to like what's it called now? Dean Court, its proper name, Vitality, and 3-course meal beforehand. I've been probably Prosecco, but champagne reception with a little raspy floating in the flute. Martin was insistent on buying the drink, so I had 3 pints of Moretti before a game, 3-course meal, and then game's kicking off in like 20 minutes or so. So we left the hospitality suite, walked around a obviously small stadium. We're now in the away end for the full game. Obviously there is that moment, but I thought United gave a very spirited performance, played very well. Really brought the game to them, wasn't shy or sat back. And then obviously one of the greatest moments of my life, up there with Duffy at Hillsborough. I wasn't in the ground for Duffy, but I was in this one. Sharp's goal, and Absolutely. I mean, I'm so happy I got that footage. That footage that Sharps has seen himself and described himself as spine tingling.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I remember that.
And it just went. Obviously, the ball. It was actually a really poor goal, to be fair. But sometimes they're the best ones, just a toe end that bobbles in.
Yeah.
And I just remember that scene. Obviously, biblical, celestial, Liam Gallagher scenes, chaos. There's like a bloke surfing past me, crowd surfing, and then like half a minute later, when the players come over, realizing it was actually Sharp, I was like celebrating again. I was like, it was like having like your best mate score, and it was absolutely incredible. Honestly, like just the euphoria. Like I think when people aren't a fan of football or like they're a fan of rugby instead, but like I said, a try doesn't mean as much as a goal because there's so many and the points aren't the same. But just the feeling you get, like whether it's Duffy at Hillsborough, Basham at Leeds, another great away day experience. A sharp equaliser. It's just an equaliser at Bournemouth, for Christ's sake. It's not even a winning goal. And just the surge of energy you feel is just unbelievable. And it's so addictive. That's why you keep going and keep watching despite all the downs you get. You just think, there'll be another surge one day. And then after the game, we got to go back into the hospitality suite, quite smug. And, a few more drinks. And honestly, unbelievable. One of those days I look back and I go, like, did that happen? Like, I was so lucky to have that day, that experience. I'll cherish that till the day I die. And then a few weeks later, I was very lucky. Once again, someone said, I've got a spare Chelsea ticket. So I went down. Dead lucky though, because I was a student at uni at the time. So I had a flat I was renting. So I went down the day before.
In London?
I was, yeah. I was up at Caledonian Road, Zone 2, for anyone that cares. But I went down. I went down on the Friday evening. I think it was just a 3 o'clock kickoff. But I thought if I get down then I can have like a nice relaxed morning. So I remember like waking up at like 10, half 10, and seeing people tweeting at 6:30 going, away days. I was just smug thinking I'm not even out of bed yet, and you've been on the road about 2.5 hours. So yeah, I went for a spoon's breakfast and met some of the London Blades that I'd met. Went to Earl's Court, and that was a proper party time because there was 2 like away day pubs, but they'd reached capacity. Like I said, we can't fit any more people in here. So the rest of the Blades there said, let's have our own street party then. We went to the Co-op, drank that dry to the point they said we're not selling any more alcohol. I actually got the last batch of Brewdog, and then after me they said no more alcohol. And then we just went on the street sort of having a party. I had showroom viewers there. I remember the police were there, but the police were really sound. They went on both mine and Showroom Views vlogs, giving score predictions. One of them looked like McGoldrick a bit. So they were really sound.
I remember this.
Fair. Yeah, and I was like filming him, saying, this is Showroom View behind the scenes. So fair play to the Met that day. They were really friendly and cooperative, and they weren't, offensive in any way or hostile in any way. And obviously walking to the ground, it was a really hot summer's day as well. Absolutely perfect. And obviously the game started. I just remember being so annoyed. Not the fact we were 2-0 down, just the manner of the goals. Really stupid goals, like comedic almost, players bumping into each other. And it's like, if you're going to be 2-0 down to Chelsea, let it be because they're really good, not because we're just like a bunch of idiots at the back. And then obviously early on in the second half, Robinson, I celebrated that quite a lot. It felt sort of annoying to have a goal at Stamford Bridge, and like I celebrated it. It wasn't half-heartedly, but maybe 3/4-heartedly, because I'm thinking, a goal at Chelsea, but we're still losing. And it's like late on, I don't remember what minute it was. It wasn't, I think it was like 87th. It wasn't like 95th, but obviously, and then I think it was Stevens, I think. Definitely his position, obviously crossed it in, and I think it would end up being a 𝗏𝗀𝗻 own goal, actually. And just the disbelief, like when I just saw that hit the side net, and like thinking, it sort of went really quick, but really slow. I saw it hit the side net. I was thinking, has that actually just happened? We're at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. We were 2-0 down, and we've managed to equalise, and I'm in the ground. It was like, I remember when I started, like, I think everyone loves United, but you have that honeymoon period of like infatuation with United where it's everything to you. You want to read everything and watch everything and everything. Right. You know all the players and everything. And for me, that was sort of like the Clough era. That 13-14 to 14-15. The Jamie Murphy, the cup runs. When I really, really fell in love with United, and during that era, it's like what you dream of. We've been in League One. we'd had a few cup upsets against Villa and so on, and Fulham and QPR. Great Premier League teams, but not of the likes of Chelsea. Obviously, had that great 2-2 draw with Spurs, but like I was thinking, this is what I've like dreamt of, like my entire United life, like coming to a proper big team like Chelsea, a glamorous a massive, great stadium, one of the best, proper big team, Champions League winners, and we've come back from 2-0 down, and it was just I couldn't breathe, honestly. Like that's why I was used to squawk. You know what? That's you could tell I was excited. I used to like squawk on those videos because I was like het up with emotion. It was like I was just like rather than like going. I was just like I couldn't breathe. And apparently, like I still can't work out with 𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗂𝗏 if it was that game or West Ham away where I was on someone's shoulders, but I don't recall any of that. I don't remember being sat on Webster's shoulders at any point.
He's pretty certain that it was you.
I think he's changed his answer to West Ham now, which I think is more likely.
I heard
because,
that.
Yeah. But no, honestly, they're my two. Obviously, we didn't win any, but yeah, obviously Leeds. Both trips to Leeds away, I've done. Whether it was Basham away, to be fair, Brooks away.
Anything, that was great.
I think Brooks away for me. Maybe it's just that particular day. I think the limbs were actually a bit tasty for Brooks. Maybe it was where I was sat because I was near the steps, so there was people. I think with Basham, I was further in, so it's a bit more. Everyone sort of packed in the seats to hold everyone up. Whereas for Brooks, I was right next to the steps, and it was just a flipping torrent of people. Like it was basically like jumping into a waterfall. I sort of jumped, and then my feet didn't touch the ground until I fell over on a. Even then, like I just fell on some bloke's lap. I had one leg on one seat, one leg on like my legs at 10-2.
Yeah.
Like my one foot being crushed by a seat, one foot being stood on by fans falling forward. But no, both those games at Leeds were up there as well as some of the best moments. Obviously, being there for Basham's goal and the highlight, probably one of the highlights of Travelling Blade. A few, obviously, Sharp responding to my footage of him scoring at Bournemouth. The DM from Dean Henderson was incredible. I was screaming then. I didn't believe it was him. And then also, I think Leeds away. I think when I got back on the minibus, I put the tweet on just of the Basham goal saying, I don't know, I'll probably swear and saying them something Blades. And then someone messaged me saying, oh yeah, the club's used your footage. I was like, oh yeah, funny. Then I was like, no, they actually have. And then because they put credit, I think initially as well, they'd not credited me. They'd used my video and someone said, oh, quote Travelling Blade, and then they put, oh, credit Travelling Blade. So it came up, Sheffield United mentioned you. I was like, yo, that was pretty ridiculous. And I was very thankful of them to, I know they probably, you might have witnessed it yourself, maybe try and distance themselves from the rest of the content creators like ourselves. But I was dead chuffed and thankful of them to use my content. Not for like, just for the fact that they had, not because I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's a bit of publicity. Just for the fact that they'd actually, I was like, yo. But yeah, they're probably some of the highlights of traveling. But there were 2 away days. Sorry to waffle on them, but they're honestly some of the best days of my life. Like especially
I love the passion.
Days where you just think like one of them days where like United, where you just think. I imagine you've got stories as well. Like maybe I don't know if you mentioned you at the 𝗵𝗍𝗶𝗶 Forest game, and just
of course
games and moments where you're thinking, I'm just so glad I was there and I have that memory in my life, and that was never going to go away. It's just I think that's what football's all about. It's like you get for every Gillingham away 4-0 or Crewe away 1-0. Yeah, honestly, they're my they're my ones where I'm like, when you get people going, oh, we're there, Penistone away, didn't even have players, didn't even have a ball, but I still turned up. Like that's my equivalent to Gillingham away. Like that'd be me. That'd be me in 30 years. That'd be me in 30 years when there's arguments about loyalty points. That'd be me. Oh, we're there, Crewe away. The most. I'm going to ask you a question. What's the most stupid game you've been to? Where not in terms of crazy, like oh what a mad game, like Man U at home 3-3, where you're thinking, what am I doing here? Like what am I doing? So for instance, mine is, I think it was, God, what season was it now? I think it was just after we'd been promoted to the Championship. So I think it's when we'd got that brilliant. I don't know if you've got it behind you. I think it was the pre-season before we just went into the Championship. So this must have been 2012, 2017, yeah. And then the first season of the championship, or back in the championship, was 17-18. And it was the pre-season before then. And we had a friendly at Eastleigh, which is like, for those that don't know, is just north of Southampton. And I went, and I was like there, and I didn't even know how to get to the ground. I got off at like Southampton Airport Parkway, and there was no proper path. So I was just walking on the side of a chuffing A road, like a dual carriageway, in the drizzle, in nothing but like a pair of like shorts and a Sheff United shirt, just thinking, what am I doing here? Like, this is actually a problem now. Like, you know, like when you wake up, like, just thinking, I need to start seeing someone about this. Like, what am I doing here? So I was just going to say, like, what game have you got standing out, or particularly just you travelled to, like, you know, if it was like Yeovil away on a Tuesday night and we lost, or just a game you're thinking you've really inconvenienced yourself for, and it's not even a big game, just when you think, what am I doing here?
I mean, I got a few. I think driving from Newcastle to the Hand Stadium to watch a friendly against Bristol Rovers, which was 0-0 and the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life, and then having to drive straight back was probably pretty stupid. When I was working in Scotland on a radio doing a breakfast show, I drove to Burnley on a Tuesday night to watch us. I got there so early. I chatted to Neil Warnock before, told him we had to win because I've driven from Perth, and he went, Australia? So that was pretty good. And of course, famously, people that follow me on Twitter probably know that when I had an opportunity when I was doing some journalism work in Afghanistan to come back briefly, I used that time deliberately, thanks to 𝗵𝗱𝗂𝗏, to get a ticket for Wycombe Wanderers away, flew back, watched the game, back again, and we lost 1-0. So some silly ones.
No, that's you win. You win. I've never flown.
Oh, it's not a competition, mate. Well, we've got your highs. And I know you're low because I think that the low for you is when you met me at West Brom on the hottest day of the year, and you said to me, gutted that you're taller than me.
Yeah, well, you know, you were wearing high heels at the time, so I think that one needs to go to VAR.
I didn't even know you were going to be there.
Let's have a level playing field. I think between I reckon if you had like up me, you, and Roy, you might reach up to like 𝗶𝗿𝗶𝗲-𝗵𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗃 perhaps.
What I would say to you is, if you're watching, try and convince Travelling Blade to just do the games he wants, obviously, but to get back to it, tweet him, let him know how much you've enjoyed his content, and go back and look over some of the stuff that already exists, because it is fantastic. The stuff you can enjoy that, in my opinion, is timeless and really great to revisit. So, Travelling Blade, thank you.
Thank you for having me.